Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to our Fridays at First podcast. I am Michelle Ward, and I am your host while Richard Gibbons is on sabbatical. I am so excited to be with you all today. We are doing a special summer series, our summer Roundtable for Fridays at First. And last week, I had the privilege of speaking with Chelsea Fraser and Graydon Tomlinson about staying creative during the dog days of summer. And this week, we're going to be talking about staying in community during those dog days of summer. We have some exciting guests that you will not want to miss, so stick around. So I'd love to welcome Dr. Susan Messer, who is our choral director here, music director.
Hello.
And I'd like to welcome back Reverend Don Feuerbach, who is our associate pastor of congregational care.
Hey, Michelle.
Welcome back, Don. And Mason Simmons, who is our fearless leader for our student ministries.
I need a title, I think.
I think you do. You do. So welcome, guys. I'm so glad y'all are with us this morning. We're going to be talking about community and why community is so important. I think during the summer days, people tend to think like, oh, the winter is an isolating time, but the summer can be an isolating time for a lot of people because you don't have schedules. You don't have maybe a scheduled Bible study that you're involved in, or maybe, the youth group doesn't meet every single Wednesday and Sunday morning. But I think, people are going to be surprised to know how much is still going on here and how much we can really all stay involved. And so that's why you all are here, because each one of you kind of brings a little bit of community to the church with your roles. So, Susan, I'm going to start with you. Now, tell our listeners a little bit about what you do.
I am the choral director here at First Pres, and I lead music in the traditional services, the one at 8:30 and the one at 11 o'clock. I plan music for those services and direct the choirs and coordinate any music that happens, choral music that happens during those services.
And really, the choir kind of exists. How many members do we have probably in that choir?
Around 75 total choir members
all
right
ages,
now. Of
really.
all ages, I'd say from, the early 20s, and someone's 92 years old who still is an active member of the choir. So, music's a lifelong skill that you can enjoy forever.
Absolutely. Well, and y'all still meet regularly, obviously, during the summer. Is that
We do.
right?
We're taking a little bit of a sabbatical in July for the rehearsals on Wednesday night. All ages are taking a break in the summer for that. But the adult choir continues to meet every Sunday morning. We come 15 minutes early to rehearse to be sure that we're ready for services. But we do miss being together on Wednesdays. But I always send out a weekly email, and I get some responses from that. So I hope that keeps us
well, and I'm sure
in
some
community.
of those, folks maybe gather together. But you do have something really incredible coming up that's still considered summer community with our Christmas at First rehearsals are starting in the next few weeks, right?
That's right. So an introduction to the Christmas at First music will happen on Wednesday, August 13th at 6:15. And We've got it planned. We are ready for our concerts December 13th and 14th as far as the planning, not the performing.
Not the performance.
Not the performance. And then the regular Christmas choir rehearsals will begin the last Sunday in September at 4 o'clock. Right. So anybody is invited to join us for those.
Okay, great. And you can be all ages. This is not just, the senior community or the middle-aged folks like me. I mean, we have children and youth groups singing in that as well. That's wonderful. We've got a lot of talented folks here. And some that can only do maybe Christmas, like
exactly, for the adults.
Right.
And some of our students sing in our Christmas at First program with the adults. But student and children's choirs will begin again on Wednesday, September 10th. So we're excited about the graded choirs beginning for K4 through 92 years old.
Well, that's wonderful. And Mason, I'm going to kind of flip to you with this question. Being a leader of student ministries, talk to me a little bit about why community is so important, not just for even that group, but just for everybody.
Yeah, I think when you read through Scripture, something that's interesting, one of my seminary professors taught us was that the singular word saint does not appear in the New Testament. It's always plural, meaning that it's the understanding of the authors of the New Testament that we would do this thing together. And I
Yep.
think in our kind of individualized age, we tend to think like, oh, it's just me and Jesus, and that's what
Right.
Christianity is, which obviously that is a
Of
major
course.
component, but
Sure.
I think we can miss out on the communal aspect of it, that we need people. We need
Yes.
people because we're human and we struggle and we have things that we're going through. We need people because what we think isn't always right. And we need
Right.
somebody to say, hey, like, I don't know that what you're doing is in line with what the Lord wants. So I just think that we need other people. But yeah, I think it's difficult. And I think particularly with summer, I'm reminded of one of the great thinkers of our day, Justin Bieber.
Just
He said the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It's green where you water it.
right.
And Justin's just such a great thinker. But I like that quote because I hear from students and adults during the school year, everyone says, oh, well, I'm just so busy right now. If I didn't have all this stuff, then I could connect to the Lord and
Right.
community, and then I would do all this stuff. And then we get into summer and it's, well, I just don't have a routine. I don't have any
Right.
structure. I don't have, so like if I had structure, then I could do all these
Oh,
things that I
yeah.
say. And so I think when it comes down to it, it's, we're humans and it's difficult to do the things we actually need to do for our own souls. And so I think it's a hard process, but I think it's something that's really worth it.
That's absolutely right. Well, and it's cool to see how, just kind of even delving into what you do here with our youth ministry. I mean, I'm a mom of twin teenage boys that, I am constantly, hey, when's Roots getting back together? And you guys have designed this whole summer program. A lot of times I think, you could kind of justify, oh, everyone's traveling. We don't have to schedule anything, but you guys have done a really, really good job. Tell us a little bit about what the opportunities still are for the summer for our youth ministry.
Yeah, we try and keep it somewhat still regular during the summer, just with high school, middle schoolers. They kind of need that contact. The main routine ones are for senior high. It's called Summer Nights, and we have it at people's houses through the summer. I think we have 2 more this summer, and so
Okay.
that's just at people's houses. We'll share kind of some scripture and just hang out, connect with each other, check in with people. And then middle school have a couple more. They're called Roots Downtowns, and it's just we
Okay.
do different things, hang out, have a little devotional, just try and maintain connection and community. And
Well, they look like a lot of fun.
yeah, they are.
They really do. And I know my kids have certainly enjoyed the ones they've gone to. And it's just cool that you guys do that. And I think having these groups of, these kids go to school with kids all year long, but then they've got their church friends too. And I know I've just been able to see the church friends really come together during the summer, and they've got these group chats. And, I try not to look at all of them because maybe they don't say church things sometimes. But
It's a
no, I'm
wise
just
move,
teasing.
yeah.
No, but being in community is so important for all ages, and whatever that looks like. If it's playing, if it's singing, if it's praying, and Don, that's kind of a way that I'm going to segue to you. You did an incredible sermon a few weeks ago on prayer, and you invited our congregation to come to the prayer service. And I think, one of the things that I realized as the social media coordinator here is there's a lot of people really craving someone to pray for them, someone just to sit with them, someone to be with them. And, Stan does the brunch bunch on Sundays, and that's a wonderful way for people to gather on Sundays after church, maybe that feel a little bit more isolated or alone. What are some ways that the congregational care team is kind of encouraging staying in community this summer?
Well, I mean, you mentioned one of them, which is the healing prayer service, which is on Tuesdays at 6:30 in Harper Chapel.
Right.
And I do think that, and I love your point, Mason, that saints is never singular.
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
And I think it's incredibly important that we learn to be able to share with each other. It's really hard to do, though, I think,
Yeah.
for people because, and I'm kind of working through all of that in my own head. Why is it? Why are we reluctant? All of those kind of questions.
Pride.
But the truth is that we are.
Yeah.
And I think the sooner we just sort of say, okay, this is a little difficult. I'm going to have to jump past this barrier. Then that's what we'll do. But the prayer service is certainly one of those places. And as I said in that sermon, at one of the services at least, it's not every time you talk about healing, people start thinking, well, I'm not bad enough to go, or they have a very sort of skewed view of what healing is. I tell people, look, if you're just tired,
right?
If you just need restoration of your soul, come and let people pray for you. And it's a good way to be in community with people. It's interesting because the people who are there all the time, they know each other, and they talk to each other in the lobby on the way out. That's one way, but we're also connecting with like our older adults, still through pastoral visitation ministry. One of our PVM people just went to a 90th birthday party for one of our members, and which is pretty great. And so we're still working on all of that. But what I would say to people is, if you're looking for a place to connect, we always have volunteer opportunities,
right?
Whether it's working with older adults, working with, there are just so many different congregational ministries that you could be part of, including military ministry, for example.
Right.
And I guess, and this may seem obvious, but, worship still happens every Sunday.
Right.
And I know for some people, they just sort of get out of the habit in the summer, but there are always people who are looking to connect. And so that's always a good opportunity as well.
You say that, and I can't tell you how many people, even this year, that I've talked to that have said, oh, we're gonna start coming to First Pres. After COVID, we really got out of the habit. And I thought, gosh, you don't realize how much time has passed since all that, but how easy it is, especially when you don't feel invited too. And so I would encourage our listeners, if you're listening and you're already really involved, please, just invite somebody. Mason really appreciates when I tell my kids to invite like 10 friends to youth on Wednesday nights. But no, for real, he actually does. I think because, there's people out there kind of waiting for someone to say, hey, go to the prayer service with me, or hey, come sing in the choir with me. You've got a beautiful voice,
And I will also say, everybody's not tremendously extroverted,
I
right?
know, yeah.
But I will say, if you are the kind of person who likes to connect with people, please make sure that when you are in worship, that you're talking to the people who are around you.
Right.
Because it's really easy for people who are a little more introverted to come in, worship, and leave.
Right.
And while it's great that they're here, we want them to connect. And that's really, I think, the value, kind of what Mason was saying, the value of community is doing discipleship together. Right.
That's true. You cannot do this alone. I was telling my husband that yesterday. It's a daily good morning. We're starting over again. I can't do this day without you. So
I will say, even though we are promoting community, I have found that resting, how many times does God tell us to rest in Scripture? So I think there are purposes in that rest, but remembering to seek community amidst the rest. Like, for example, as Don just said, Sundays come around every single week.
Yes, they do.
And so for the choir that has a commitment with 2 services every Sunday, us taking the Wednesdays off makes us even appreciate community, the weekly community, more when we get back in the fall. So I'm always promoting, resting, that we want to not just rest from our work, but work from our rest, which to me makes it just, makes serving the Lord that much more joyful when you've had rest with Him. But also remember to seek that weekly or biweekly community with each other.
That's right. I love that, Susan. Work from rest, because we can't really be of good use in serving if we're worn out and weary and tired. And I know just for even our staff, we get to gather and do the same thing that you all do every Tuesday night. We get that as a staff, and it's really cool to be in the chapel with all of our staff members and just all be quiet and still and just receive that. So.
Yeah, I think that sometimes and this would launch us into a different discussion, but when you were talking about rest, the first thing I think of is Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right. And I just to make it very simple, I think that sometimes we don't stop long enough to enjoy what the Lord has given us. And that's true in the life of the church. It's true at home. It's true with neighbors. It's true with family.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we just need to stop and really just look at what's right in front of us, because it's really, really good. And the Lord is just abundant in our direction over and over and over again.
Yeah, I'm curious. A question maybe for us is, so many times I think we go on vacation, we go to the beach for a week, which with a child is a very different experience I've learned this year. But we come back from vacation and we put all of this expectation into, I have 6 days where I'm going to make up for the last 51 weeks of torture to myself. And then we get back and we feel not rested at all. And so maybe to follow that line of thought, Don, what are some ways that as a congregation, as people who are trying to follow Jesus, we can actually, like, with the difference between resting, I guess, and enjoying God and going on a vacation, because those aren't the same thing. And so how do we actually engage in practical rest?
It's a good question, and I don't know that I have necessarily the answer, but I think the one thing that I have found is I have to become present. And I know that sort of sounds out there for some people, but I think so many of us live our lives distracted. We're worried about what's happening in 15 minutes or in an hour or tomorrow or what happened yesterday. We're not really present in the moment. And sometimes we just have to embrace what's right in front of us, because if we don't, we're just constantly, at work. I mean, I don't mean literally at work, like.
But your mind is still going.
Exactly.
I mean, I have to, first thing in the morning, I literally schedule the time. It's almost like scheduling the time to do this podcast. I have to schedule, from 6:30 to 7:30. That's me in my reading room, talking to God, reading my devotions, not talking out loud, not thinking about what's next. But really, it's just the time that you almost have to pencil in the rest time. Because I am one of those people that never lacks for community. If there's not community available to me, I'm looking for it. I'm finding it. Or, I'm harassing one of my teenagers to run errands with me just so I can talk to him. But you almost do have to schedule the quiet time or the rest time, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Refurbishing your soul before God is what, again, gives us, in my opinion, the energy to be able to keep going.
Right.
And again, that's what we have to, we're resting from work, but actually we're able to work from the rest that we have in the Lord, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't, whatever time you've got, I've read sometimes devotions like 10 minutes of just thinking, God, you are here, and your mind doesn't even have to engage in anything. Just say, God, I'm here. I want to connect with you. And that is just so refreshing, and it gives you a peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny, we started this on community, and now we're kind of in the solitude and silence aspect.
Yes.
But it's this tension that Scripture presents to us of both are commanded. And when we lack fullness in either solitude or community, I think it's easy for us to hide from even who we really are. And I think even in quiet times or solitude, we don't really address the stuff that's swirling beneath the surface, or the insecurities that are there, the struggles with life, the frustrations with God even that are there. And when we don't go fully into community, then we don't let other people know. And I think it's easy, especially at a big church, I think it's easy for our church community to be like, how was your week? Oh, it was good. Okay, well, I'll see you next week. And so I think the challenge for us as the people of God is, who in my life knows everything?
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a pastor that said one time, everyone doesn't have to know everything, but somebody does.
Right.
And I think finding the people to be real, just raw with, and lay out your heart, that's the hard work of community. But I think on the other side of that is a freedom that you just can't get in isolation.
No.
That's the beautiful part of community.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
And I do think that just learning to even be present in community. I mean, to find that, for lack of a better way to say it, but a solitude in community with people, where we're all sort of connected to the Lord. I think that's one of the things about choir. I mean, I'm not a singer,
No,
but
I know where you're going with this.
But I think that everybody being focused in one direction, there's something really helpful about that. Just from a connection standpoint. I think the same, and I think that's why people want to learn about the Bible, obviously, but I think that's part of what they get in a Bible study too, is everyone's focused in one direction.
Yeah.
And so there's a connection between people. Same thing in the prayer service.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you're being with each other, but you're also being with, like, I know just from my experience, and I was thinking back right when he said that to singing Mary Did You Know one year at Christmas at First, and how all of a sudden you almost feel like it's just you and God, but then you're like, wait, we're all doing this together, and everybody's feeling this,
and it's a community feeling that you cannot express in words.
right.
I read an article once. A lady was asked by a reporter, "How did you feel when you sang that song?" And she said, "Well, if I could tell you, I wouldn't have had to sing it."
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It's yes, our community singing together is. It can't be expressed in words with what we get to do together and just have so much fun. Just the joy of the Lord in doing it.
And it's equally true with congregational singing. I think that's one of the reasons congregational singing is so important. I know there are people who, because I see you out there, I can see who's moving their mouths and who's not.
I like to close my eyes and sit up front so nobody sees me ugly crying.
But I do think that when we learn to do that together, it unifies everyone who's in the room in a way that
you just can't explain.
No.
And I think God created. He's got to have created music for us to experience Him in a way that cannot be experienced any other way.
Yeah, there's even, I love this part of God that He's way ahead of science, or like research, I should say.
Yeah.
There's some research that's come out that talks about that singing songs in a collective body bonds people together. And it's so funny. You're like, oh, well, that's what the Lord has been saying, since the beginning of the time. And so I think
and I
it's
have
dead
a
on.
direct example of that, which is great. It's kind of hitting back on youth. And my kids don't listen to the podcast because they hear me talk enough. But I'll be in the car and, with one of my teens, and, I'm cringe, I'm a glazer. There are all these words that the teens use now. I just learned not to take it personally. But no, we'll be sitting there and I'll kind of get silent. All right, God, he doesn't feel like talking. And I'll start singing a song and he'll start singing it with me. And it's a song maybe he heard, because I have his radio on a lot, and it'll be a song that they did at youth. And I'm like, don't you love that song? And then all of a sudden we're connected. We're having this connection that we may not have had I just kept yapping, so to speak. Mason knows all these words.
Another good word. Wow.
Yeah, I know all these words because, they're real honest with me. But truly, music can connect all generations. Prayer connects. What Mason and his team do with the youth group is it's incredible. It's helping connect teenagers to parents, teenagers to one another. The culture that they're living in is, we always say, oh, I can't believe how it's gotten. But, they were made for this time. They're being instructed and loved here at First Pres with this time. So the connection is, I do think God wants all of us to, first go to Him, get connected to Him, and then connect to one another in that vulnerability. And I said pride earlier, but, that's not really fair. It could be fear that people don't want to be in a community, fear of rejection, fear of being judged. And that's the exact opposite of the atmosphere and environment that we want to create here at First Presbyterian Church, and hopefully any church that you would walk in through the front doors. But we have an amazing opportunities here every day, really, to get involved and to be involved in community. And so, and you guys are all a part of that. I do want to share, Don, with you, because I received this message not too long ago. We do a divorce care here, which is something my mom did in our local church in Orangeburg, and she did it twice, actually. She said she did it once when she couldn't kind of lift herself out of the bed, and then she did it again when she was a little stronger. And, that ministry, it was somebody that doesn't go to church here, but she wrote in and said that was the best thing, and the people that loved on my children while I was in there, and the community that I met. That's tough to walk into that. And so I don't know when we're going to do that again, but
We generally do it in the spring.
okay, yeah.
But I will say Grief Share has much the same.
And Grief Share, yeah.
Has much the same sort of ability to connect people.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about divorce care is our last divorce care, it ended long ago. They're still meeting.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to say.
yeah,
They
they're
found that
meeting in people's
community
homes.
within each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who did it, and she and these women all still get together. They do girls' nights, and yeah, so there you go.
Gentlemen, it's not just ladies.
No, I'm happen to be friends with one. No. So we've talked about all the ways that we, hopefully provide community and offer community here. But, we partner with lots of organizations and schools and other people in the community. How can we, aside from everyone inviting a friend or, telling someone something that might be pertinent to where they are in their season, what are some other ways that you all might see us reaching out to the community with connection?
Well, I will tell you right now, the place to start, at least for me, is just with the people who live next door or across the street from you. Because just showing up for them is an incredibly powerful thing. And it's interesting to me that a lot of people don't connect with their neighbors.
Right.
I think they have reasons that they don't connect with their neighbors. But finding out that your neighbor is sick and showing up at the hospital.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay long. You don't have to say much. Somebody told me long ago, they never remember what you say. They'll remember you were there.
Right.
Right. It's just about showing
Just
up
love
for
and action.
people.
Yeah.
And so in whatever way you can. I go back to my mom. My parents moved from New Jersey to Miami when I was 3 months old. She didn't know a soul. So she walked around and she hand wrote invitations, and she invited 50 people to their house.
Oh, wow.
To her shock, they all showed up.
They're
because
looking
they didn't
for
know
things.
anybody either.
Yeah.
And that was 60 years ago.
That's incredible.
So believe me, people are just always hungry to get to know the people who are around them.
Hospitality. So
Right.
that's a great way
Absolutely.
to connect. Yeah. Mason?
Yeah, I think during summer in particular, obviously my brain goes more to the younger demographic here. I think being aware that a lot of people feel lonely. I think a lot of teenagers feel lonely
Yeah.
during summer and feel like everyone else has all these plans except me, or so-and-so's
Right.
at the beach together and I didn't get invited.
Right.
And so I think maybe to parents of teens or to teens who listen to this,
Yeah.
I would just say recognize that. And I think part of following Jesus is it frees you up to see outside of yourself. And so I think being the first to invite other people to things and create plans. Don't wait for someone else to do something and see on Snap Maps that something's happening and you weren't invited. But
Yeah.
I think being the initiator is one way that I think we can embody Jesus in this day and age.
That's right. Teens, be bold enough to initiate and just invite. You never know who else is waiting for you to. Susan?
Just, I guess, trying to be the face of Jesus, to look welcoming and excited and happy, and that people are maybe asking you what you're doing and how you're doing it. One of the best compliments I've ever heard about choir is still on the music scene here, but if somebody is involved musically, I'll say, you need to come, you need to be with us, and or have lunch. I'll have lunch with them and find out more about them. And then they come to choir and they say, I've found my people.
I love that.
And,
Got to find your people.
I have found my people. So it's that what a compliment, right?
Absolutely.
That they feel so welcome.
Well, and if you're listening, your people are here too, and we don't know exactly what that might look like for you, but we would just ask that you would not be shy and that you would come join us for any of the things. And if there's a way that you'd want to share with us how you connect here that would encourage our friends, I'm going to kind of wrap up with one of my favorite scriptures, and Paul wrote this. It was 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. And I hope that kind of just in essence wraps up what connection and community looks like for you. Thank you all so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so
That was fun.
much.
Well, as you know, we have been walking through the sermon series, Follow Me, What is a Disciple? Last week, Mark Hutton talked to us about faithfulness and really looked at the faithfulness of God and how that impacts how we respond with faithfulness. This week, I'm excited to welcome Charlie Buchanan, who is our Associate Pastor of Youth, and Stan Johnson, who is our Associate Pastor for Visitation and Prayer. Welcome, Charlie and Stan.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks for having us.
All right, before we get started on what you guys are going to be talking about the next 2 Sundays, Charlie, you are a father again. You just had a son.
Yes. Yep. So June 17th, we welcomed Charles William into the world, 8 pounds, 6 ounces.
Wow.
21 inches long. In fact, just yesterday, we went to the doctors for, a routine checkup, and he's already 11 and a half pounds. He's a big boy.
Wow. I'm ready to babysit. So
We're ready for you too as well.
Tell us, are you sleeping?
I'm sleeping more than my wife is.
Sure.
I will say that. But he is a wonderful baby. He doesn't make much noise aside from when he's hungry.
Okay. I make a lot of noise when I'm hungry too.
Well, I get very. Our whole family gets hangry.
We get hangry.
That's
yeah.
right. But he's wonderful. Thank you for asking.
That's wonderful. Well, we're so excited to have you back. Tell us. We're in this sermon series, Follow Me. What is a disciple? And it's a great series. I love this because it really is giving us such applicable, I guess, a way for us to participate in this walk with God. And so tell us, what are you going to be talking about this Sunday? What's your...
Yeah, so for those who have been walking with us, they know that Richard has a definition of discipleship that is really encapsulating all the practical steps of what it means to be a disciple. And over the last several years, we've had our strategic plan and vision, and we know that God wants us to transform the heart of this community. Well, in order to do that, we must be disciples.
Right.
And so my role this coming Sunday is to discuss what intentional discipleship looks like. And so I'll be really discussing intentionality, setting goals. I think we are all intentional creatures when it comes to things that we want, when it comes to goals we have, whether it be an achievement in a career or getting in a certain type of physical shape or whatever.
Right.
But we often don't apply that to our spiritual life.
Right.
And so we kind of enter into the lazy river of spirituality and just hope for the best.
Right.
And so this Sunday, I'm going to invite the congregation into being a little bit more intentional with our walk with Christ.
I love that. I actually, this morning, one of the things that during my quiet time that I heard God say was like, dare you to move. And that's a song by Switchfoot, by the way. I'm motivated by music a lot of times, but I was thinking about that story of just of being intentional. We can't just sit back, he can do it, but he doesn't need us, but we need to be engaged. So I love that. Intentionality is such a great word. And then the following week, Stan, you're going to be preaching. What's your title, so to speak?
Well, Michelle, in 10 days, a sermon can change a lot. Okay,
I know that.
But
in
yes,
2 days,
we
a sermon
make
can
our
change a
plans,
lot.
and God says, right?
I don't want anybody listening to this podcast think that they've got everything that I'm going to say.
Give us kind of an idea of where you are today.
Yeah, well,
with that.
I am. I can do that fairly well. I think my passage is going to be taken from the Great Commission.
Wonderful. Okay.
And as I mentioned in the sermon, I will mention the Great Commission is often just kind of used as a thing for win people to Christ. Go out and or to go to the mission field or to increase the mission page. All of which is great.
Right.
But Jesus is talking about discipleship.
Right.
And so I think we have to ask the question: what's the umbrella that covers all this stuff that Jesus is doing?
Sure.
It's discipleship. And a number of years ago, I had a friend of mine and he mentioned something that stuck with me for all these years. He said, in the church, people think, well, we got an attendance problem, or we got a financial problem, or a problem with the staff, or all the things that. But he said, what we have is a discipleship issue. People do not understand what it means to be a disciple. And so really the gist of my message is probably going to be similar to Charlie's, because I haven't heard his message, of course, yet. But what does the gospel play in this? Where does the gospel fit into this?
Right.
And over, my what I hope to do is probably take the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. Mm-hmm. And it's not until the gospel really grips us, and what is grace?
Right.
Or what is this thing that Jesus was doing with his disciples, but giving them the freedom to be who they are in the faith, and to accept the gospel as a liberating thing, not something as the Pharisees saw
Right,
it,
not a set
something
of rules.
captivating, a set
Right.
of rules. And so my sermon is going to be to ask the question: how does the gospel and discipleship relate?
Right.
And unless we are really grounded in that gospel and it becomes the passion, what is the message that we're going to take? One other thing I would think is kind of a corollary to that is just that the gospel tells us who we are in Christ,
Right.
but it really doesn't tell us what to do with it until we understand discipleship.
Right.
So we're thinking about what kind of an impact can I make? We
how
have
are
this
you going to
wonderful
use
message
me
over
as
here.
a disciple? God? Like, kind of your personal relationship of how are you going to use me as a disciple?
Yes, and I think
kinda
it's
comes with
inborn
it.
in all of us. What kind of an impact can we have? I mean, this is
Right.
true. I attended a sales meeting yesterday
Right.
where they talked about the coffee bean. You heard the coffee bean story? You put several things. Well, just to make you put a coffee bean in a bottle in a pot of water.
Right.
What does it do? It infiltrates the whole pot.
Right.
And I thought
I
about
thought
that.
you were going to say a plant grew from it.
I
I was going to do that when I got home today.
Well, actually, the speaker in this illustration was a beautiful illustration when he articulated it. But I thought about he wasn't talking about discipleship. He's talking about the fact that if you're a salesperson, you got everything you need in you to
Right.
just. And I understand that. But the thing that hit me was how applicable this is to what we all want to be. We all want to live lives
Right.
where we're making an impact.
And
I think that's what Jesus is saying is that discipleship will do that.
Right. Well, and I think those are great, and they're going to go hand in hand, just learning to be intentional and to have that. Then at that point, what piggybacks off of that is the impact that you can make by just engaging and saying, all right, God, what do you want from me as a disciple? So, well, and if you didn't know, Stan also heads up the brunch bunch. So if you don't get enough from his sermon, he'll meet you after church that Sunday, and y'all can go to lunch and have a little bit more of a deeper discussion about it.
And Charlie has agreed to pay for everybody's lunch.
Oh, that's right.
That's,
Great, Charlie. And he might bring the baby.
the
I'm
budget.
just joking.
The budget has agreed to pay.
Oh, well, Stan and Charlie, thank y'all so much, first of all, for everything that you do and that just giving your heart and your soul to these messages and really helping send our congregation and visitors out to be disciples. We are so grateful for both of you. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you. It's truly an
Michelle,
honor
thank
to be
you
here.
both.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
All right. Well, we are coming to the end of our time together, and I hope you all are feeling encouraged and ready to jump in and be a part of a community and get connected with other friends and fellowship. We have got some exciting events coming up that you will not want to miss over the next couple of weeks. As always, our art exhibitions are just consistently going on. We've got one in the Lens Gallery, as well as the first two floors. You can come by anytime during the week from 9 to 5 and take a look around at those. Tonight, July the 25th, we have a buddy break. So make sure if you have a child or teen with special abilities and you want to take a break and bring them to a safe spot, give Tina Jones a call or email her at tjones@firstpresgreenville.org. And then we've got two events that we want you all to save the date for that are coming up in August. One is August the 10th, which is going to be our promotion Sunday and backpack blessing to send our kids back to school. And then the following weekend, we have a really cool new event called the Family Blitz event. And this is a free event, but it is ticketed. And that is going to be something really fun for the whole family. Just get online at firstpresgreenville.org/events and check out all of the events we have coming up. And thank you all so much again for joining us for our summer roundtable. We'll have another one coming up before you know it. And in the meantime, stay cool, stay creative, and stay connected with us and one another this summer.